Welcome. Today we're going to learn how to design a pencil sharpener using Onshape. So for the pencil sharpener, you will need a basic little metal sharpener here. You can find one using the link below or at your local office supply store. And the pencil sharpener will be made up of two pieces, the bottom, which holds the sharpener itself, and the top, which you'll be able to add whatever design you want to. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, once you have logged into Onshape, click on the blue Create button and then choose Document. Give your document a name, something like Pencil Sharpener, and click on the Create button. Now you'll have a blank screen here with your planes outlined, and you're ready to begin your creation. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your units are in millimeters. Click on the three lines, select Workspace Units, and where it says Length Default Unit, make sure that is set to millimeter. Then click on the green check mark. Now start by making a new sketch. So click here on the word Sketch. It asks me to select my sketch plane. I want to sketch on the top plane. So I'm going to hover over the plane here that says top so that it turns yellow, and then I'll click it. And now I want to be sure I'm viewing my work from the top, so I'm going to click here on the die that says top. And that will rotate it so I'm viewing it top down. Now the first thing I want to create here is the bottom of the pencil sharpener, the base. I'm going to use a rectangle to do that. Up here in the menu, the ribbon, I want to find the rectangle option and click on that down arrow. You'll see three different options for the rectangle: the corner, center point, aligned. We want to create a center point rectangle, so click on the button Center Point Rectangle. Now I want the center point rectangle to start on the origin, so I'm going to hover over it until it turns yellow, click, and draw out a rectangle. Now you'll notice that the dimension of the rectangle has a box around it. I'm going to type in the number I want, which is 34. And now the box has moved to the other dimension, and so I'll type in 34 as well. So now I have a 34 by 34 millimeter rectangle. Now I want to create another rectangle. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit using the scroll button on the mouse. I again want to start the next rectangle at the origin. So I'll click, drag it out a little bit, make sure I stay inside that initial square. And now I'm going to type in for the bottom dimension 29.9. So 29.9. Hit enter. Now the other dimension will be highlighted and I'll type in 27.9. So now I have a 27.9 by 29.9 rectangle. Now in my sketch window here, I can click the green check mark to show I'm finished with this sketch. Now I want to make this extrude so that it actually becomes a 3D object. So I'm going to click on the button right next to Sketch. That is the Extrude button. Now notice this box will pop up. It's asking me to choose what it is that I want to extrude. I want to extrude the center rectangle. So I'm going to click on that center rectangle. I'm going to change the depth over here and make that 4 millimeters. So that it is now sticking up 4 millimeters. Now I'm going to click on the green check mark to finish that extrude. Now I need to turn sketch 1 back on because I'm not done extruding with it. So next to sketch 1, I'll see an eyeball that's crossed out. Click it to turn that eyeball back on, and I can see the rest of my sketch again. Now I'm going to click on extrude again. This time I want to extrude the outer rim here, so I'm going to click somewhere in the middle of that outer rim. And I'm going to change the depth here to 2 millimeters. So now my project should look like that. And I can click on the green check mark to finish that extrude. Now I'm going to make a new sketch, so I'll click sketch again. And it'll be on the top of this inner square, or rectangle. I'm going to again use a rectangle, but this time I want to use a corner rectangle. So I'll click on the arrow and choose corner rectangle. I'm going to start this somewhere in the middle of that square. Make sure nothing turns yellow. I don't want it snapped to anything. And then I want it to go down somewhere there. Again, don't let it snap to anything. Make sure nothing's yellow. Okay, now I want to make sure the width here is 11.2. And the dimension this way here, I want that to be 16.3. Now I'm going to click on the offset button, which is this strange looking shape here with the double line. And now I'm going to click on each of the lines that make up that rectangle. Now I want the offset to go to the inside, so I'm going to click on this arrow here to make sure it reverses to the inside. If yours is already going to the inside, you can skip that step. Now I'm going to click enter, and now it's going to ask me how far I want to offset. I want that to be 0.8, so 0.8. Now I'm going to use the dimension tool to make sure I know exactly how far everything is away from the edges. So I'm going to click on dimension here. You can also click D on the keyboard. And now I'm going to click on the bottom edge of this box that I've created, and then the bottom edge here. Then click to place that dimension. And now I want the dimension to be 3.95 millimeters. So I'll type in 3.95. Now I'm going to dimension it from the right edge. So I'm going to click on this edge and then this edge and then in the middle here. And now I'm going to type in 8.8 to dimension it 8.8 millimeters away from the right edge. Now I can click on the check mark to finish that sketch. Now I'm ready to extrude this sketch, so I'm going to click on the extrude button. And now I'm going to click on the outline here of that rectangle. Now I want to change the depth and make it 27.9. So this is the little box where the sharpener will actually slide down. Now I can click the check mark to finish my extrude. Now let's view the pencil sharpener from the right side. And now I'm going to click sketch and make a sketch on this right face. Now I'm going to create a center point rectangle. So I'll choose that from my rectangle options. Now I want to make sure that I hover over, but don't click, hover over this top edge so that I see the square. The square tells me that's the midpoint. And now I want to hover over one of the side edges and find that yellow square. But again, don't click, just hover. And then I'm going to come to the middle so that I can see both of those squares at the same time. That'll tell me I'm right in the middle of this rectangle. Now I click, and now I'm just going to drag it out a little bit and click again. Now I want the bottom dimension here to be 14 and the side dimension here to be 20. Click the check mark to finish that sketch. Click the extrude button. Select that rectangle that I just drew. Instead of adding here, I'm going to select the remove option. I don't want it to remove all the way through, so I'm going to change blind and change it to up to face. Now it's asking me to pick which face. So I'm going to pick the back face here of the sharpener so that it extrudes through that front face but not through the back one. And then I'll click on the green check mark. Now I'm ready to create the wings on the side. So I'm going to start a new sketch, and this sketch will be on this top stair, if you want to call it that. So I'm going to click on that top stair, that edge of the top stair. Now I'm going to start by creating a construction line. So I'm going to click the button here for construction. You can also click Q on the keyboard, and then I'm going to click the line tool. Now I want to draw a line straight up. So I'm going to start this line here at the bottom of the stair, and I'm going to start it here in the middle so I can actually see where that square is. And then I'm just going to draw it straight up. Notice that little horizontal line there tells me that it is straight up. Click to finish drawing the line, and now I can change the dimension to 24. Now I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to first click Escape to get out of that line drawing tool, and then I'm going to select Construction Line again, and I want to draw a line from here horizontally, so along the stair step here, and I want that to be 12 millimeters. So I'll type in 12, and now I have a 12 millimeter construction line as well. Hit Escape on the keyboard to get out of that line drawing tool. Now these are construction lines that are going to help me draw that arc shape that I need. So now I need to draw an elliptical arc. So up here I'll also see I have this arc tool. Click on the down arrow and select elliptical arc. Now first I'm going to click on that center where the two lines are connected. Next, I'm going to click on the end point of the 12 millimeter line, that horizontal line. And now I want to click on the end point of the 24 millimeter line. And now I'm going to draw the arc down once again to the 12 millimeter line. And that will make me an elliptical arc. Now I want another line just like that, so I'm going to use the mirror tool. So I'm going to find these two shapes looking at one another in a mirror, click it. Now it's asking me to select the mirror line, so I'm going to click on that dotted line, my construction line. And now I'm going to select what to mirror, which is that elliptical arc that I created. I'm also going to select this 12 millimeter line so that that goes across as well. Now I'm going to get out of the mirror tool. I'm going to select these lines down here. I made them construction lines, but I am going to need them to be solid. So I'm going to select it and click construction to make it a solid line. Click the other one, make sure it's solid as well. Okay, so I should have two solid lines at the bottom, a solid arc, and I can leave this dotted construction line there in the middle. Now I'm finished with the sketch, so I can click on the green check mark. Now I'm going to click the extrude button. I'm going to click on this arc that I created. I also need to be sure and click on this bottom stair here to make sure that's extruded as well. And I'm going to change the depth here to 1 millimeter. Now I'm going to check the box beside second end position, and I'm going to tell it to put 1 millimeter on the other side as well, so that it goes into that top stair a little bit, so it's a little bit thicker. And now I'm going to click the check mark to finish that extrude. Now I'm going to make a new sketch. on top of this wing. So I clicked sketch, and now I'm going to click on the face of that wing. I'm going to select the offset tool, and I'm going to click on the edge of the wing where it's now turned yellow. Now I want to click on the arrow to make sure it goes to the inside, not to the outside. If yours is already to the inside, again, you don't have to click on that arrow. Now I'm going to hit enter on the keyboard, and it's going to ask me how much I want to offset this. I'm going to change that to 4 millimeters. Now I want to create another offset inside the one I just created. So make sure your offset tool is selected and click on that offset that you just made. Notice it wants to go outward. I'm going to click on the arrow to make it go inward. It may give you an error message. Click on the 5 and change that to 2, and that should create your offset. Now click anywhere to finish the offset, enter, and then you can click on the check mark to finish that sketch. Now I want to extrude the space in between that I just created, so I'm going to click on the extrude button, click on this arc shape, change that number there for the depth to make it 2 millimeters. So it now should come to the edge of that bottom stair. And now I'm going to click on the check mark. Now I'm going to create a little circle right here that kind of allows it all to snap together. So I'm going to click on the sketch tool, and I'm going to create it on top of this arc here. And now I want to choose center point circle. Again, if that's not what's selected here, you can choose, but I usually have center point circle selected. Now I want to make sure it is in the center here. So I'm going to hover so that I see that square. That'll be my midpoint. Come down and just draw out a circle. I'm going to change the diameter there to make it 2 millimeters. And then I'm going to dimension it so that the center of the circle is 2 millimeters away from the top point of the wing. So I'm going to use the dimension tool, click on the center of that circle, click on the dot at the top of the wing, click to place that dimension, and then change it to 2. Now I'm going to click on the check mark to finish the sketch, use the extrude tool, click on that circle, and change that to make the depth 1 millimeter. Now I can click the green check mark to finish that extrude. So now you can see my wing. Now I need to make sure I have one on the other side, so I'm going to use the mirror feature. So I'll click here on the mirror tool. It looks like two shapes looking at one another in the mirror. Now I need to change what type of mirror. Right now it starts out as a part mirror. I'm going to click that, change it to feature mirror. And now it's asking me which features I want to include. Okay, that will be extrude 5 if yours is labeled exactly like mine. If not, make sure you select the wing. Okay, extrude 6, which was the features of the wing, and extrude 7, which was the little dot here. And notice they all kind of turn yellow, so I can make sure I have the correct things highlighted. Next, they want me to choose the mirror plane. So click there where it shows mirror plane. And you can see I want to mirror it across the front plane. So I'm going to click here on front plane. Now you can see it turns red because it doesn't like something. So I'm going to click here on the checkbox, reapply the features, and now it should turn blue. And my sketch here is complete, or my mirror tool is complete. So I'll click on that green check mark. So the bottom is now complete. If I want, I can come over here in my parts list, right click where it says part 1, click rename, and we'll call this bottom. We can also rename Part Studio 1. So go ahead and right click on Part Studio 1, rename, and we'll call it Pencil Sharpener. So now I have my part studio named and I have my part named. I'm going to right click here, and I also have an option here if I want to change the color. I can click here on edit appearance and I can change the color to be whatever it is that I want it to be. I'll change mine to a darker blue and then click on the check mark. Now we're ready to create the top. So I'm going to start a sketch on the bottom rim here. So I'll click here on that bottom rim. And now I'm going to draw a center point rectangle. Let's view this from the top so I can see that origin well. So now I want to choose center point rectangle. I want to start at the origin, draw it out. Make sure it doesn't snap to anything, so it might be better just to stay on the inside here so you don't have anything turn yellow. And then click to place that corner. And now I want to change it, and I want to make it 30 by 30 millimeters. Now I'm going to draw another center point rectangle. Again, I'll start at the origin and I'll go out to the edge, the corner of my base, and click. So it should be 34 by 34. Okay, and if it turns red like that, just click on those 34s and delete them. Okay, so that it knows I really just want you to go to the edge there. Now, I'm going to hide part 1, so I'm going to click on the eyeball over here. So I have bottom, I'm going to hide that. Now I'm ready to extrude the rim here. So I'm going to click here on the extrude button, and I'm going to change the depth to 32 millimeters. Make sure here it says new. It should do that as long as you have the bottom hidden, but make sure. And then click on the check mark. And notice that'll create a new part over here in my list. Now I'm going to hide part 2 so that I don't see anything, except for that sketch, I guess. And now I'm going to turn sketch 5 back on. So the sketch where you made the wing, be sure you figure out which sketch that is. If you follow the same order I did, it'll be sketch 5. Click on the eyeball next to it to turn that sketch back on. And also click on the eyeball next to sketch 6, or whatever sketch you use to make the little circle there in the middle. Now I want to click on extrude, and I'm going to select the faces I want to extrude. I want to extrude the middle arc here, the one right above it, and the circle. Okay, if you have trouble selecting the circle, you may have to move it around a little bit until you can get that circle. Okay, once I have those 3 sketches selected, I'm going to change where it says blind. I'm going to click on blind and change that to through all. I'm also going to click symmetric because I want it to go both directions. And now I need to select here remove. Now I'm going to turn part 2 back on so I can see it. It's asking me for the merge scope, meaning what do I want to cut it out of. I'm going to select part 2. And you can see what that does is go ahead and cut that away from the top here of the pencil sharpener. Once I have that cut out, I can click on the check mark to finish that extrude. So before we go any further, let's go ahead and do a little filleting on that bottom. So go ahead and turn that part back on as well so that you can see both of your parts. I'm going to hide my planes right here, the top, the right, and the front plane, so that I can just see this. And I'm going to turn sketch 1 off as well so that I can see all of the edges clearly here. Now I'm going to use the fillet tool, and that's just going to give everything a little bit more of a professional look, make sure it's a little more stable as well. So I'm going to click here on fillet, and I'm going to fillet the edge, where the arc is right here. So I'll click on that edge. I want to click on the other side as well. So I have those two edges filleted where the wings are. And I also want to fillet the edges around where that pencil sharpener is going to go in that little box. Okay, you see those are all filleted. I'm going to make them a little bit smaller, so let's go ahead and change that and make it 2.5 instead of 5. Okay, so that gives it a little bit of a fillet there, makes it a little stronger, less likely to break off. Okay, now let's go ahead and hide the top part. So part number 2 there. And that way we can do a fillet here. We'll need to hide those sketches again as well. So find sketch 5, sketch 6, turn those off. Okay, go ahead and do a check mark to finish fillet 1. Now we're going to do fillet 2, so let's click on the fillet again. We're going to change the radius this time and make it 1 millimeter. So over here in that window, change the radius to 1. And now I'm going to click on the edges of the circles. So right here and right there. And now that'll make them just little knobs there. Now I can click on the check mark to finish that fillet. So now let's go ahead and hide the bottom part and turn the top part back on. Now I need to make sure that it's going to slide on nicely, so I don't need these to be exact. I need them to have a little bit of wiggle room. So I'm going to use the Move Face feature. So up here in my ribbon, I'm looking for the one that says Move Face. Click on that Move Face option. And now I'm going to choose the inner edges here of those arcs, as well as those circles. Now I'm going to change that offset here to 0.2. And then I'm going to also be sure and select the ones on the other side, so that I have those edges moved out. Okay, 0.2. So I need to flip the direction, make sure they go up. And that'll give me a little bit of wiggle room there so that I can put the top onto the bottom. Now I'll click on the check mark. Now I just need to close the top here, so I'm going to click on the sketch button and make a new sketch here on the top edge. Now I'm going to select corner rectangle, and I'm going to make it go from one inside edge to the other inside edge. Now I'll click the check mark and click on extrude. I'm going to extrude that down, so flip it over, make it go down, and I want to extrude it down 2 millimeters. Make sure it's on Add to Part 2 and click on the check mark. Now I need to make a hole where I can put the pencil, so I'm going to go Sketch on that top surface. I want a center point circle, and I want it in the center. So I'm going to hover over the side here and find that middle square. Don't click, just hover. Do the same on this side. Come to the center and see where those two come together. It wants to use the origin, which would probably fine as well. Let's look at it from the top. Okay, you can use the origin as well. So I'm going to look at it from the top and we'll use the origin then. Okay, and then I'm going to draw out my circle here and I'm going to make it 8.4 millimeters. That'll be wide enough to hold a normal pencil. Now I'm going to close the sketch and click on extrude. Extrude that circle. Going to change it to remove. And now it'll go all the way through. So I can click on the check mark. And finally, I'm going to turn the part 2 back, or the bottom actually back on so that all the pieces are visible. And now just to make it look a little more professional, I'm going to fillet some edges. So I'm going to use the fillet tool again. I'm going to change the radius here to 5 millimeters. And I'm just going to click all the corner edges of the pencil sharpener. And this just makes it look a little more professional. Okay, be sure and also click the ones around the bottom here so that they'll match up with the top. And now I have everything rounded. So now I can click on the check mark. So the top is now finished as well. So right click over here where it says part 2, rename it, and we'll call it the top. Right click again, and if you want to, you can click on edit appearance and change the color. Now click on the check mark, and you now have the top complete. Now I'll also show you how to add a design to your pencil sharpener. You can skip this step if you just want a plain one, but if you want to add a design, I will show you how to do that. First of all, you want to find a design. So let's go to plus up here, open a new tab, and let's look for a bike. And I'm going to type in the word silhouette. That can be very helpful. You can also type in black and white image or coloring book image or something like that to help make sure that you get something that is 3D printable and not some photo of a bike. So if I type in bike silhouette, I'll make sure I get some good, nice black and white clip art. It can be color, but you do want to make sure it's dark colors. Otherwise, the light colors aren't going to show up well. Now I'm going to make sure I'm just looking at the images, and I'm going to choose any biker here that I might like. It is important to keep in mind that when you choose an image, that if it has a lot of fine lines, they won't show up. So for example, if I were to choose this biker, those spokes are not going to show up. So make sure whatever you choose doesn't have a lot of fine lines that are critical to the image. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this bike right here. Once you've found something that you like, you can right click on it and then click Save Image As. Now you want to change it to give it a name that you'll recognize. I'll call it bike, or let's go ahead and call it mountain bike, and then click Save. Now next up, you want to convert it to an SVG file, so you likely just saved it as an image file. Next up, I want to make it a vector file. So click on the plus to make a new tab, and we're going to go to a website called picsvg.com. So picsvg.com. Click enter, click upload a picture, and choose whatever it was that you just downloaded and click on open. Okay, now notice that mine does have these checkerboard showing transparency in the background. I'm going to try changing the filters and see if that fixes that. So here under filters, go ahead and change it to internal 3. You're going to want to do this regardless of what your image is. Usually that internal 3 filter is the best one. If you want to change it to something else and see what else looks good, you can play with that and see what works best for you. As you can see in my image, that did happen to fix it, so I can go ahead and use this image. If you have an image that you imported that doesn't look good with any of the filters, you may need to go back and select something different. But once you have one that you like, then you can click here on Download SVG. Now I'm going to open up one more tab. Okay, be sure you notice here that it's going to name it something with a bunch of letters and numbers, .svg. Now I'm going to open up one more tab, and I'm going to go to cloudconvert.com. So cloudandconvert.com. Now it's going to ask me to select a file. So I'm going to click select the file. And now I'm going to choose that file that I just created and click on open. Now with that file there, I want to make sure that it knows what I want to convert it to. I want to convert it to a DXF file. So choose the CAD option and then DXF. Now click convert. Now click download, and it'll download that same file name .dxf. Now I need to go back to my original Onshape document, which mine actually got pushed to a new tab. And now I'm going to create a sketch on the face where I want to put this. So if I look at my pencil sharpener, I don't want to put it where the wings are. I want to put it on one of the other flat faces. So I'm going to click Sketch and click on one of those faces. Now I'm going to choose the DXF option, which will be up here on your toolbar. Look for this tab. It may be under one of the down arrows. Okay, and choose the Insert DXF file. Now I'm going to come down here in the window and choose Import. I'm going to look for the DXF file that I just saved, so make sure whichever letters and numbers you find, make sure you find the one that has DXF. Choose it and click Open. You'll see it import it. I'm going to select that file and then click on the check mark. Now you'll see that it is often very giant, so I may have to scroll out to see it. I'm going to click and drag around the entire image. It's all going to turn yellow. And then I'm going to choose the Transform option. So up here on the toolbar, I'm looking for the one that says Transform. It will be in the same drop-down menu as Linear Pattern. I'm going to actually X out of that first so that you can see better. Okay, so I've got the Linear Pattern, Circular Pattern, and underneath that is the Transform option. Now you'll see these little arrows pop up. I can use the triangle tool to make it smaller or larger if you happen to need to. I can use these arrows to drag it to a different place. Notice the yellow one is the original, and the blue one that I'm working with is what I'm trying to get here. So I need to make it even a little smaller. And I can continue to drag that until it's in approximately the place that I want it to be. Okay, and once you have that positioned the way you want to, click over here in the background with your left mouse button, double click. And that will leave that transforming space. Don't worry about the little dots that may be left outside. Now I'm going to click on the check mark to complete that sketch. I'm going to click the Extrude tool. And now I'm going to click on my image. And notice right now it's adding it and making it stick out really far. I can change that and make it 1 millimeter. And that'll make it stick out just a little bit. Or if I want to, I can also choose Remove option, and that will make it go in a little bit and give it kind of an embossed look. So I'm going to go with that, and now I'll click on the check mark. Okay, and so now I have a design on my pencil sharpener. And if I wanted to, I could put a second design on the back as well. So go ahead and add whatever designs you want to make your pencil sharpener unique. Now you're ready to export, slice, and print your file. So over in your parts list, go to where the bottom is listed, right click, and choose Export. Okay, notice it's called Pencil Sharpener Bottom. Make sure it's an STL format, and these other things look like that. Now I'll click on Export. Right click on where it says Top, click Export. Again, make sure that you recognize the name, STL format, click Export. Now you're ready to slice. So go ahead and open up your slicing program. I'll be using Prusa Slicer, so this is what it looks like. You may use a different program. The process will be similar, even if it looks a little bit different. So you want to go ahead and click the Add button to add your project. Okay, and then choose the project that you just saved. Let's start with the bottom. And we'll add that to the plate. Now, if you want to print them different colors, you can go ahead and slice this file. If you want to print them the same colors, you can put both of the objects here at the same time. Okay, but assuming you want different colors. All right, I'm going to make sure I have the correct printer selected, the correct filament. I'll be using PLA. Print settings, you can use anything between 0.2 and 0.3. You do not need support for the bottom of the pencil sharpener. Okay, and infill 20% will be fine. So something 15 to 20%, you do not need a brim. And now I'm going to click on the Slice Now option. Insert your SD card or USB drive or whatever it is you use to get your print to the printer. If you use Wi-Fi, you can use that as well. Okay, so once that's inserted, you'll see this little icon pop up. Click on that and click on Save. Now you can take that to the printer and start printing the bottom of the pencil sharpener. Go ahead and click the eject button there. Now for the top, I'm going to come and click File, New Project, Add, and select the top this time. Click on Open. Okay, now you do not want to print the top in that direction. You'll use support material that you don't want to have to use. So go ahead and flip it over. Click F on the keyboard or choose this button over here, Place on the Face. And then click on the top face so that it flips it over. Okay, again, check your printer settings. Make sure you have the correct printer, the correct filament, the layer height here. Okay, you do, once again, do not need support here, and you can leave your infill at 20%. Now, it is curved a little bit on the edges, so there's going to be just a little bit of drooping here, but if you put supports on there, it's going to be rough, so I kind of prefer the drooping. So you could try supports if you wanted to, but I prefer it with just a little bit of drooping there on those edges. Okay, and once you have that correct, then you can click Slice Now. Again, insert whatever device you need to get this to your printer. Click on the little icon and save it on there, eject it, take that to your printer and print out the top piece. And once you have both pieces printed, you want to take your metal pencil sharpener, slide it down into the casing here. Now it will take a little force to get that screw through that, but that is what helps hold it in place, which is helpful. So slide that in there. It'll be a tight fit, but it should fit. And then you should be able to put the top on it, and your pencil sharpener will be complete. A couple different ideas if you're looking to take this project a step further. You can try to come up with a way to make the pencil sharpener a shape other than this kind of cube shape. So for example, maybe a dog with the pencil going in the mouth, or maybe you can think of something else that you could come up with. You could also try to actually create a pencil box that has the pencil sharpener built in. So just a couple extra ideas if you want to try to challenge yourself and make this something all your own. So I hope you enjoyed making your pencil sharpener.